your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great. Hello everyone. It'd be cool if pets could live forever, right? It'd be great if your pet would always be with you. Imagine, for example, if this handsome crab could live in your aquarium for several years. But unfortunately, this creature, like many other pets, can live only for a certain amount of time. But the creatures we're showing you today are the opposite. We're serious. Today we're going to show you real immortal creatures that live among us. You don't believe us? Then pay attention, because these are 10 immortal animals. Let's get it on. Lungfish. The main secret of the invulnerability of this small fish is in its lungs, which make it virtually immortal. Thanks to its lungs, the creature is able to survive periods of severe drought that can last up to a year. And if you ever discover a fish trying to dig into the sand or dry mud, then don't rush to save it and don't return it back to the sea. It is not crazy at all, and it doesn't think it's a mole. Most likely you just caught a lungfish entering hibernation mode for an unfavorable period of drought, for example for the summer. It's amazing, but the fish can survive a whole season without getting nutrients into the body. By the way, an amazing and accidental experiment demonstrated the amazing vitality of the lungfish. Once during transportation, a metal container with dirt and some specimens of this creature was lost. It was found only 6 months later, and the elements inside the container had turned into a dry monolithic block. But once the mud was diluted with water, it became clear that the fish were alive and breathing, with its miraculous lungs despite everything. That's what we call immortal. Water bears. Tardigrades, also known as water bears, are not at all related to these fluffy animals. Nevertheless, they stand out for their immortality and amazing ability to survive in the most extreme conditions. Tiny water bears are only 1.5 millimeters long, and they live in the water and move very slowly. Despite this, its habitat are very extensive and diverse. So, for example, if you try very hard, you can find a water bear in equatorial waters, and at the same time, the same creature can be found in remote polar regions. Yes, this little animal has managed to adapt to a variety of weather conditions. It can survive both at a temperature of minus 273 degrees Celsius and up to 151 degrees above zero. Moreover, this miniature creature can easily tolerate colossal radiation doses, 1,000 times higher than the maximum permissible level for other living organisms on the planet. The water bears can live without water for a long time, and when we say long, we mean not a day or a week, but for 10 years. And here's another interesting fact about these babies. In 2007, during an unusual experiment, the water bears were placed in a vacuum and sent into space. And what do you think happened? Well, incredibly, these amazing creatures returned to Earth alive. Hydra. And the next animal in our list of unique immortal beings is the eternally young Hydra. Scientists discovered the uniqueness of these marine inhabitants in the 19th century, but they did not have any confirmation at that time. Only at the end of the 20th century, it was experimentally proven that the Hydra never grows old. Literally, never. They die either from diseases or after being eaten by other creatures. After all, they're not immune to natural selection. Nevertheless, hydras are very tenacious. Scientists have learned that they have special body parts which die off and get replaced by new ones. It's pretty simple, like changing the batteries on the remote. So, hydras have the same level of regeneration and immortality as Wolverine, but at the same time they can remove toxins from their bodies and become even more beautiful. The immortal jellyfish. The amazingly beautiful Turritopsis nutricula is better known as the immortal jellyfish, and fully deserves its nickname. At first, this marine life doesn't even realize its uniqueness, but after reaching sexual maturity, something magical occurs. Ta-damn! The jellyfish returns to being a baby, so to speak, and begins to grow again. And it does this from year to year. By the way, it has long been proven that jellyfish have a so-called cellular memory, and they know their own age. But what about our immortal jellyfish? Does it remember all its lives, or does it receive a new memory along with a new baby body? In any case, this process doesn't, and this life cycle repeats an unlimited number of times. It made us think of the main character of the film The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Benjamin Medusa also grows old, then again becomes younger, and it goes on forever. And now we would like to show you some animals that are not immortal in the literal sense of the word, but they can still outlive all of us for a couple of hundred years at least. Raven. Surely you've heard that ravens live up to 300 years, but this of course isn't true. Like their intellect, cool plumage and gloomy glory, these birds don't hold any record, and in the wild they hardly live more than 15 years. Hey, but what's the raven doing on this list then? Are saying our viewers with indignation. Well, calm down. According to scientists, in captivity these birds become real long livers, outliving other feathered creatures, for example the flamingos. So in the Tower of London, ravens live for more than 40 years, and they felt great, and all because they didn't have natural enemies and didn't need to find food on their own. In addition, history knows examples of ravens that lived in captivity for more than 75 years. Therefore, a domestic raven can outlive its owner and meet its first owner's children or grandchildren. Red sea urchin. If you live underwater and you don't know how to swim, you need at least to learn how to run as fast as possible. The red sea urchins did everything in their power to survive. They move along the bottom using their long needles like stilts, and for a long time it was believed that these sea creatures live about 15 years, and they were
Fairlife is the milk that gives you more. It's ultra filtered for 50% more protein.
Far from being considered underwater grandfathers. But one day, scientists found out that the red sea urchins grow very, very slowly. One scientist realized this, and they measured the largest individuals and found that some specimens were 200 years old, without any signs of aging. That is, even at this venerable age, the urchins felt very good and could keep reproducing. By the way, maybe this is not the limit. It's still unclear how much could a red sea urchin without having to cope with stress and to constantly run away from predators. Tuatara. The oldest reptile which walks the earth since the time of the dinosaurs is the three-eyed lizard Tuatara. And when we say three-eyed, we're not joking, because on the head of the Tuatara there really is a third eye, although nobody truly knows what it's for. This organ has a lens and a retina with nerve endings, but it lacks muscles and other things necessary for vision. Do they use it to contact extraterrestrial civilizations? However, this lizard could use its voice for that. Oh yes, it also makes sounds. You can hear the sad cries of the Tuatara on foggy nights, or when someone's bothering the creature. And if these creatures lacked amazing features, they can live more than 100 years, or according to some lizard experts, even more than 200 years. Bowhead whale. Of course, we have to mention whales. Whales are the largest mammals on our planet, and yes, they can live for a very long time. The average life expectancy of bowhead whales is around 40 years, but some specimens can survive up to 200 years or even more. Whales are also interesting because they change, grow and reproduce all of their life, and the intensity of these processes does not weaken with age. In other words, among these marine mammals, you won't find any whale grandfather or whale grandmother who is sick of everything and just watches other fish, heavily sighing about their youth. They don't even show any signs of aging. Until now, it's not known exactly what is the natural cause of death among whales. Some scientists believe that after a couple of centuries on Earth, whales start losing their sight and end up breaking themselves among some underwater rocks. Do you know what they need? Whale glasses. Seems like a good idea for a startup, right millennials? Greenland shark. This large, slow-moving fish that inhabits the cold Arctic waters of the Atlantic can easily celebrate its 500th anniversary. This animal has nowhere to rush and no one to be afraid of. It lives in dark and cool places with plenty of food. It's easy to survive for more than 200 years living like that, right? Scientists believe that the Greenland shark can live the most among vertebrates, and there is no creature for now that could take away this record from it. A complex analysis made by shark specialists has shown that the average life expectancy of these deep-sea hulks is at least 272 years. The age of the biggest shark, a 16-foot-long specimen, is 392 years old, plus or minus 120 years. For us ordinary people, it might seem like a big gap, and you'd ask for more accurate calculations, but when you're a Greenland shark, it's not so important. 100 years more or less, who cares? Just keep calm, swim down and eat a seal. You're cool, everyone envies you. Glass sponges. And the absolute record holder for life expectancy on Earth is the glass sponge. Hooray! Actually, some people believe that sponges aren't living creatures, except when they're wearing square pants. This is mainly because sponges lead a rather inactive life, and they definitely can't be called athletic. Some of them move less than a millimeter per day, so it's not surprising that they grow very, very slowly. But this is slowness, together with the cool water around them, that gives the sponge its longevity. For example, one specimen found by scientists lived a very, very long life. It was 1,550 years old. But this isn't even the limit. According to some statistics of sponge growing by year, specimens living in the Ross Sea should be at least 15,000 years old. Just imagine the things these creatures saw during their life. For example, well, lots of water, and more water, and oh look, a megalodon. So, do you know other immortal creatures? Apart from Wolverine and Duncan MacLeod, of course. Tell us in the comments and don't forget to like the video. Amazing gadgets, upcoming technologies, incredible inventions, and other cool stuff related to high tech on TechZone. Subscribe, you won't regret it. The link is on the screen and in the description.
Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks, and we'll be right back to you as fast as we can.
ActiveTrack helps organizations track, analyze, and manage teams' behavioral data. Push your business to the next level with contextual user activity monitoring. Empower employees by facilitating individual productivity monitoring. Gamify activity monitoring with leaderboard reports. Track and monitor user activity across remote teams. ActiveTrack helps teams understand the impact their work has in relation to their colleagues, no matter their location. And it allows managers to make informed decisions on policies, schedules, and workflows to produce the best results for their business.
My name is Charles Hayden. I work at BAE Systems as an IT specialist, delving into system administration and network security. When I was an IT in the Navy, I thought I knew IT. When I got to ECPI, I started going through the classes. They taught me all the different aspects of IT that I didn't understand. It led me to a place where I can succeed.
Just like in our last video, let's just get this out of the way. Venomous and poisonous are not the same thing. I challenge you to look up the most poisonous animals in the world and find a list that isn't at least half composed of venomous animals. After hours of looking, I now pity toxicologists and what they must go through. Both venomous and poisonous animals produce toxins, but what makes them different is the method of delivery. Venomous animals must inject toxins into their prey, while poisonous animals release their toxins into, onto, or around a potential predator. Duo fish. In comparison to venomous animals, poisonous animals are far and few between. It turns out having to get halfway eaten before potentially harming a predator isn't an incredibly popular adaptation in the animal world. But the animals who manage to stick it out utilize some of the most lethal toxins on the planet. The animals on this list are ordered by increasing oral lethal dose 50%. So the further up the list we go, the smaller the amount of toxin it would take for your body to fade to room temperature.
Number 15.
The cane toad. This large species of toad can grow to be larger than your hand and produces some of the most poisonous toxins in the world, with an LD50 clocking in at 0.5 to 1 milligram per kilogram. If you happen to have a dollar bill or small paperclip near you, go ahead and pick it up. You're holding something that weighs about 1 gram, which is 1,000 times heavier than a milligram. The bufotoxins that the cane toad carries can kill 50% of mice with just 1 milligram. And most other animals, including humans, can die to amounts of less than 100. And this is the least poisonous animal on the list. Cane toads were introduced to Australia because of their ability to control pests around sugarcane. But their numbers quickly exploded into the millions because they lack a good amount of natural predators, in Australia of all places. Venomous snakes, lizards, and even crocodiles will die of consuming the toxic toads, so be sure to wash your hands if you ever handle one of these resilient toads.
Number 14.
Spanish fly. Oh no, you didn't mishear me. Spanish fly isn't a fly, or even some back alley vial of ground up rhino horn offered to you by a vendor promising unlimited promiscuity. It's an emerald green beetle that's part of a family of blister beetles and just so happens to produce a poison with an LD50 of 0.5 milligrams per kilogram. Spanish fly, along with over 7,500 other species of blister beetle, produce a toxin known as cantharidin that acts as a form of defense against hungry predators. Since the time of ancient Greeks, crushed blister beetles have been used for various folk medicines, including use as an aphrodisiac. The cantharidin produced by Spanish fly and other blister beetles is absorbed by the skin and leads to blistering and burning pain. When consumed, it wreaks havoc on the body, causing ulcers, blistering, and bleeding throughout the GI tract, which can be fatal. Of course, it can also cause priapism, much like the Brazilian wandering spider. But unfortunately, this is accompanied by bleeding, intense pain, and all-around misery in the area.
Number 13.
Flamboyant cuttlefish. Arguably the cutest poisonous animal on this list, the flamboyant cuttlefish is a hamster-sized, fearless widow cutie with an LD50 of somewhere around 0.35 milligrams per kilogram, I think. Apparently it houses a toxin as deadly as the tetrodotoxin a blue-ringed octopus carries, which was number 15 on our venomous animals list. However, it isn't well studied, and only Mark Norman, a very well-respected marine biologist mind you, has made the comparison. In any case, this adorable cuttlefish is one of only 3 cephalopods known to be venomous or poisonous and can be found in the sea around northern Australia and up towards New Guinea. Flamboyant cuttlefish walk along the ocean floor due to their shrunken cuttle bones, causing them reduced buoyancy. But what they lack in buoyancy, they make up for in flamboyancy. I know, it was terrible. When threatened by predators, these cephalopods flash a variety of colors and put up their dukes in an attempt to warn predators that they are dangerous. Considering their incredibly poisonous muscle tissue, I'd say it's a credible